Yeah, Ivan Toney didn't get off the bench during Saturday's defeat against Brazil, but chances are he will start at Wembley against Belgium. Ollie Watkins, of course, started the game against Brazil in Harry Kane's absence. Kane's gone home. He's returned to Bayern Munich through injury. So, Toney made his England debut last March, came on as a sub against Ukraine. I mean, it's inevitable he'll play, isn't it, Ali?
And so he should.
Yeah, I mean, he's deserved his chances, no doubt.
I think so, Jeff. I'm not getting carried away. I genuinely, England defeat at home against a Brazil side. Didn't score, but I don't know whether you agree or not. I've got less of a concern of that than I still have about England at the back, particularly in the middle of defence, to be honest with you.
I've written some notes, Ali.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I've written. But just to stick with the forwards Ollie Watkins has come in for some negativity. But he was given
minimal service.
No opportunities, really. One half chance, and
correct,
that was it.
Correct.
It's really harsh to write him off on the basis of that.
Yeah, it's wrong. It's not. I don't think it's really harsh. It's wrong to write him off. He'll be in the periphery, and I think you're absolutely right. Ivan Toney deserves his opportunity, and it would not, and it will not surprise me, because I think Ivan Toney will do well, and I think he'll take him. I think Ivan Toney, I was a little bit concerned, obviously, just about perhaps a lack of game time might go against Ivan Toney for obvious reasons. But the fact, you don't often hear Gareth, I wouldn't say go over the top about players, but he was very, very, indeed very complimentary about Ivan Toney. And I would go as far to say, if he performs against Belgium, performs well, he might just put himself in front of Ollie Watkins.
Do you think he'll just take Harry Kane plus one other?
I probably agree with Gabby, which is in itself, I'm questioning myself for making that particular statement, but I think he might just take the one. Although crazy as it may seem, the best thing at this moment in time that could probably go in Toney and Watkins' favour is Kane's injury. Because if Kane was 100% fit, I think the chances are he definitely would only take two. But the fact he's got a niggle, they might be lucky and they might take three.
It's interesting because I'll just touch on what you were saying. I mean, defensively, right from the word go, they carved through us, and that was when Kyle Walker was on the pitch.
Yeah. Well, this is the real league. I mean, that's what I'm saying. England in qualifications and qualifying games look the part, and they are. I mean, they always qualify with some style. But you're effectively playing at the weekend against Real Madrid and Barcelona. Paquetá's top class at West Ham. Gomares has been one of Newcastle's. You're talking extremely high level of forward-thinking players. As good as, well, maybe not as good as it might be as good as you'll get at international. Certainly a level up from the qualifying games. And I think it was evident. I think you could see that, Jeff. It's absolutely no disgrace, getting opened up once or twice by a team of Brazil's quality. But I still think that could be England's Achilles heel.
Yeah, we'll talk about it a lot more during the course of the morning, of course. But talkSPORT took so many calls over the weekend reacting to that Brazil loss. Let's hear from Gareth, who isn't confident in his namesake Southgate's management.
I don't think England will ever win anything with Gareth Southgate as the manager. It's been 8 years in the job now. His decision-making in matches, I don't think the Brazil-friendly match is really something to use as consideration, but in the match like in Russia, he failed when we played Croatia. When it came to Italy in the final in the Euros, the last Euros, it went wrong for him. And then, of course, it went wrong against France, which was for slightly different reasons in Qatar. And, in 8 years, he hasn't got a decent centre-back and he hasn't got a controlling midfield player.
Well, it's not his fault if he hasn't got a decent centre-back. No. For goodness sake, Gareth. Semi-final of the World Cup 2018, runners-up in the Euros 2020, World Cup quarter-final where they lost to France. And they
could have went either way.
Unlucky to lose
I was at that
France.
game, Jeff. I don't care what anybody says. A flip of a coin. It really is.
Complete. People have got short memories. Yeah. Look, former Premier League boss Alan Pardew has called for some perspective.
Brazil not quite at the levels they've been in the previous decades, etc., but still quality. You know, some tight situations. You can see their technical ability is fantastic to watch. But we did okay. I mean, you know, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of press about it, and obviously a full house Wembley Stadium when I'm disappointed because obviously we lost. But you know, it was there was some positives, and I thought it was a decent encounter.
What do you think of the criticism of Gareth then? It comes with the territory, I know.
I mean, it goes with the territory. Does it surprise me? No, not in the slightest, because I think he's one of these characters, Gareth. He has got an element of England fans, because he hasn't won anything, will be against him. But I don't think it'll bother him. I genuinely don't. I think the improvement in the English side, as there should be with the level of player that England have now, has been there for every day to see. One of the big disappointments for me, if you're English, would be going back to Russia, the Croatia game. I thought that was another game probably could have and should have won. The Italy game in the Euros, it's penalties, it's a flip of the coin. France, the exact same. It's just one of these things. And we were talking about it last week, and I was having a discussion with Andy, who reckoned that a lot of England fans expect to win the Euros, and I actually think they've got no right to expect to win the Euros. I think they've got every right to hope to win the Euros. I think it's a big difference, and I actually fancy them to win the Euros. I think it's between England and France. I said, because I think England and France have distanced themselves slightly, although you and I speaking before we came on, arguably the performance of the weekend for me was Germany.
Sure. And
I watched extended highlights of that, and that was that was a concern for Scotland and everybody else. But I just think a little bit of perspective perhaps that was needed for one or two of the supporters at the weekend. Certainly not for Gareth or the team, but maybe for one or two of the supporters.
Yeah. Andy in Bagshot says, "Morning, boys. It's the first day of a 3-week holiday, but I'm still up walking the dog and listening in." Morning, Andy.
Morning, Andy.
I agree with you both. I can't see Southgate taking Watkins and Tony. Wouldn't he just put Rashford up front? And I think that is hitting the nail right on the head.
Yeah. talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.